Morning, Ravi ji.
ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तं
वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ सहना भवतु
भवतु
सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै
कर्वावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु
ॐ
ॐ
शान्ति
शान्ति
शान्ति शान्ति
शान्ति
Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Acharya.
So, in the last class, we had finished the 11th Anuvaka, which was a very long Anuvaka. Now we are on the last Anuvaka of the first chapter, and it's called Uttara Shanti Pataha, the later Shanti Pataha. So, I will ask Rajni ji to chant this, but I would like you to look at some minor differences there. This is the same Anuvaka, same Shanti Pata, which you have chanted already, but you will find that there are some minor differences, and that I'll explain. So, Rajni ji, please go ahead.
Om Acharya ji. Om Shanno Mitra Shanvarunaha Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanna Indro Brihaspatihi Shanno Vishnurukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi.
சாந்தி பஞ்சம் போட்டிருக்கேன்.
எங்களோட கிளாஸ் இருக்கும் 6:30 மணிக்கு.
Rajni ji, we cannot hear you.
No, I stopped because you muted me, so.
No, okay. Go ahead.
I'll do it again, yeah.
Yeah.
Om Shanno Mitra Shanvarunaha Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanna Indro Brihaspatihi Shanno Vishnurukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmavadisham Ritamavadisham Satyamavadisham Tanmamavit Tadvaktaramavit Aveen Mam Avid Vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you so much. So, you would have noticed some minor differences. So, that is because this Shanti Pata is now being repeated. In the earlier Shanti Pata, it was a prayer for the blessings. And now here, since the Shiksha Valli is over, it is being repeated, but now as a thanksgiving. And that's why there are some changes. So up to Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi, there is no change at all. Right? After that, you will see the changes. So this is a prayer for expressing gratitude to Ishvara for having accepted the prayer in the first Shanti Pada. We are asked for removal of obstacles. And here we are saying, oh Ishvara, we are thankful to you, we are grateful to you because you have removed the obstacles. And how do I know? Because we have completed Shikshavalli. So there you will see a word, Avadisham. Avadisham means I have said. This is the past tense. While in the beginning, what did we say? Vadishyami. So I will say. Vadishyami means I will say. That is future tense. And I will say this. That was the initial prayer we used. And now that the Shikshavalli is over, we are expressing gratitude by saying, I am saying. or I have said. Okay. So Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadisham. I have said that you are Pratyaksham Brahma. Ritamavadisham. I have said that you are Ritama. Satyamavadisham. I have said that you are Satyam. Tanmam Avit. So you gave me the blessings. Earlier, what was it? Tanmam Avatu. May you protect me. So Tanmam Avit, you have protected me. And Tad Vaktaram Avit, you also protected my Acharya. And Avin Ma, you have protected me. It's a repetition. And Avid Vaktaram, you have also protected my teacher. And again, we repeat the Om Shantri three times. We know the three types of obstacles. So, hence, for Jnana we are asking Ishvara to have, we asked him to bless us and remove obstacles. And now we have thanked him because he has blessed us, removed the obstacles, and then we have completed Sikshavan. So with this, that Anuvaka is over. Sikshavalli is over. So now we are starting Brahmananda Valli. This is the Vedantic Shastram chapter. It's considered an extremely important chapter in Taitriya Upanishad. The first chapter dealt with what? Sadhana, Chatushtaya Sampatti. The third chapter also deals with sadhana, chatushtaya, sampatti. And the second chapter is jnanam only. Okay, so this chapter has different names. It is called Brahmavalli, it is called Anandavalli, or you combine both and you call it Brahmanandavalli. And it is called Brahmavalli because you will see that the chapter begins with the word Brahman. Why is it called Anandavalli? Because you will, as we go through the chapter, you will find there is a lovely, wonderful analysis of the nature of Ananda. What is Ananda? What is the means of getting Ananda? What are the gradings in Ananda? And this analysis is the central idea in this chapter. It is called Ananda Mimamsa, analysis of Ananda. Then we said there is a third name, Brahmananda Valli. Of course, it combines both the names. And you will notice that this chapter, unlike other Upanishads, begins with a separate Shantipataha. The first one has a different Shantipata. Right? This second chapter, Brahmanand Valli, has a different Shantipataha, which is Sahana Bhavatu. And if you, a small little difference, in the first chapter, Shiksha Valli, the Shantipata was the first Anuvaka. Correct? But here, the Shantipata is not given an Anuvaka number at all. It is just a Shantipata. And the first Anuvaka is the one starting with Om Brahmavit. That is the start of the first Anuvaka in this particular chapter. Before we start, a slight note. In some of the texts, we have various publishers who publish the Taittiriya Upanishad, right? So in some texts, you will find that Brahmananda Valli has got two Shantipadas. The one of the Siksha Valli is first repeated, and then this one, Om Sahanavatu, is again given, right? And there is another version where you will find that the closing Shantipata of the Siksha Valli is taken as the opening Shantipata of Brahmananda Valli, right? And there is a third version, which is the Gita Press version, in which Sahana Bhavatu is the Shantipata, and we are going by that. So, with that small thing, let us enter into Brahmananda Valli. Rajani ji, please chant the Shantipata.
ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
So, we have seen this Shantipata earlier in one Upanishad. Do you recall?
Kathopanishad.
Kathopanishad, right? And in Kathopanishad, Shankara has, in his comment Bhashyam, he has commented upon this particular Shantipata. And yet, normally when Shankara comments on something in one Upanishad, he doesn't again comment on that. But yet, in this Upanishad, we find that he again gives a Bhashyam on this Shantipata. So, this is one of those peculiar Shantipatas where there are two Shankara Bhashyams available. Of course, they are not very different. They are very, very similar to each other. So, without actually going through word by word, let me just say, tell you what the Shantipata means. So, Sahana Bhavatu. So, he says, Shishyacharyo Sahaiva Avatu. Avatu means Rakshatu. Sahaiva means together. Shishya Acharyo Sahaiva Avatu. May Ishvara protect Shishya and Acharya together. That is Sahana Bhavatu. And here Shankara doesn't explain, but in Kathopanishad Bhashyam, he says that this protection is by way of acquisition of jnana. Right? So that you must remember. The protection here, avatu, is by way of jnana. And sahanao bhunaktu. So bhunaktu is bhojayatu. Help us to enjoy the benefit of what? Of jnana. Because he's protecting us by giving us jnana. And therefore, when we say that let us enjoy, it means let us both enjoy the benefit of the jnana phalam. And of course, there is another meaning of bhojayatu. Bhojayatu has the Sanskrit meaning of palayatu, protection. And if you take that meaning, then you have to say that may Ishvara protect us by giving us the benefit of knowledge, by giving us jnana phala. So in this particular Shantipatha, we are seeking blessings for acquisition of jnanam and enjoyment of jnana phala. Right? Both. Why do we seek the blessings for both as separate entities?
There are two different kinds of obstacles uh, in in this process, in this transformation.
You're on the right path. Go ahead.
Because all the doubts, the samshayas will be removed by mananam, and the viparit bhav.
Right. Very good. So there is the chitta shuddhi, which is to be removed to give us jnanam. There is samshaya bhavana, which is required to be removed for mananam. And nididhyasanam is for viparita bhavana. So jnanam acquisition is required and jnana phalam is required. So they are requiring the blessings for both. It is not sufficient to get jnana. If viparita bhavana or samshaya is there, you may not get the jnana phalam. And therefore you are saying, oh Lord, give me both. Let me acquire jnanam and let me enjoy the jnana phalam also. This is a very important idea for us. Just jnanam does not lead to any transformation. Pure jnanam is only information. It is only the prepared mind, the adhikari, for whom it leads to transformation. Then sahaviryam karavavahai. So the word viryam here has to be understood as samarthyam, the necessary skill required, necessary aptitude to acquire the jnanam and to enjoy it also. And karavavahai means let me put forward the effort required. So I'm not saying, oh Lord, give me the jnanam, I'll just sit and listen. I will necessarily put forward the effort for what? Vidya nimittam. For acquiring the required jnana, I will put in whatever efforts are necessary. Right? So the idea is that the acharya needs certain types of skills. First of all, he has to know the subject. Second of all, he has to be abiding in that knowledge. So he needs to be a Brahmanishta also. And it is not sufficient for him to be Brahmanishta. He needs to have the necessary communication skills also. So knowledge, conviction, and communication skills. All three are necessary for the Acharya. So, and the student, he requires the skill necessary for receiving the communication and understanding the communication. Two things are necessary. You should be able to sit there for long enough, day after day, week after week, year after year, receive the jnanam and understand it also. And then he says, Tejasvino adhitam astu. So he says, both of us are Tejasvinis. Both of us are very bright. And here Shankara says, adhitam can be taken as su adhitam astu. Let this Brahma Vidya be learnt well by me. And when Brahma Vidya is learnt well, is assimilated, we call it Jnananishtha. So, Tejasvini avayoho adhitamastu is, we are both bright. Oh, Acharya, you are very bright. I am also bright because I am able to understand what you tell me. And therefore, my prayer is what? That let me assimilate whatever jnanam you are giving. And Shankara explains this adhitamastu further. He says, Arthajnana yogyam astu. Let me have the yogyata, the capacity for understanding Arthajnana. Means let the words of the Shastra be converted into assimilated knowledge for me. Right? And ma vidvishavahai. So here's Shankara says very carefully, very nice commentary. Vidya grahana nimittam. It's very specific. Vidya grahana nimittam. For the purpose of Vidya grahanam. Vidya grahanam means what? Not a eclipse of knowledge. Grahanam here is not eclipse. What does it mean?
Attaining knowledge.
Prapti.
Receiving the knowledge.
Vidya
Receiving.
grahanam. For the purpose of acquiring or receiving this knowledge, Vidya, Shishyasya Acharyasya va. In respect of the Shishya or in respect of the Acharya, he says Pramada Kritat Anyaya. So Anyaya, he brings the word Anyaya here. So Anyaya will mean injustice. Okay. So what is he saying? He says this prayer is for the purpose, for the following purpose. If the Guru says something offhand, the Guru's response has been inadvertent. So that's why he says Pramada Krita. The Guru didn't mean to say anything harsh. But it was an inadvertent usage of words. And Anyaya, the Shishya may think of it as an Anyaya, as an injustice. Right? And this can occur, this sort of response can occur when Vidya Grahana Nimittam, in the interaction between the Shishya and the Acharya, specifically during the Vidya Grahanam process. Like during the teaching process, if the Shishya says something and the Guru gives the answer, even though the Guru had no intention of being unjust or unfair or insulting, the Shishya may think of it as an anyaya, as an unfair remark on the part of the Guru, and therefore a stray or dislike may be generated in the mind of the Shishya. Why is it so important? Because the moment you begin to resent the teacher, it is an obstacle to Shraddha in the teacher, right? And once Shraddha in the Guru is lost, can there be any learning at all? No. So this is the reason for this prayer, that let me not develop any, hard feelings towards the teacher, even if he has said something. I have to take it for granted that he will never want to be unfair to me. And not only that, Shankara says, Sishyasya Acharyasya va. This can be on either side. The Guru may also misunderstand something the Shishya said. And therefore, for avoiding this problem, the Shanti Pata is chanted. Vidhi Vishavaha iti. Right? So, Ma Vidhi Vishavaha iti has to be interpreted as, let us both not develop any dvesha towards each other. Let us not strain our relationship. Let us trust in each other. And Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. For 3 times chanted. As already mentioned, they are for removal of 3 obstacles. And Shankara adds here, the prayer of the student is that I should receive the jnanam without any obstacles. Why is that prayer there? Because the student knows. He's an adhikari, right? So he knows that only through Atma Vidya, Param Shreya is possible. Moksha is possible only through Atma Vidya. The Guru is teaching Atma Vidya. The student wants to ensure that he understands perfectly, he assimilates perfectly, and therefore he says that, oh Lord, please let my relationships with my Guru remain cordial. Let me respect him so that I have Shraddha in him. Because without that, I will not be able to assimilate whatever he says. This is the Shanti Patha. Any questions? Okay. Rajni ji, Anuvaka 1.
Yes. ॐ ब्रह्मविदा आप्नोति परम् तदेशाभ्युक्ता सत्यं ज्ञानमनन्तं ब्रह्मा यो वेद निहितं गुहायां परमे व्योमन् सोऽश्नुते सर्वान् कामान् सः ब्रह्मणा विपश्चितेति तस्माद्वा एतस्मादात्मन आकाशः सम्भूतः आकाशाद्वायुः वायोरग्निः अग्नेरापः अद्भ्यः पृथिवी पृथिव्या ओषधयः ओषधीभ्योऽन्नम् अन्नात् पुरुषः स वा एष पुरुषोऽन्नरसमयः तस्येदमेव शिरः अयं दक्षिणः पक्षः अयमुत्तरः पक्षः अयमात्मा इदं पुच्छं प्रतिष्ठा तदप्येष श्लोको भवति. Thank you.
Very beautiful. Thank you, Aldeji. So, we know by now that Upanishads are appearing broadly in 2 forms, right? One is in verse form, which we call Mantra Upanishad, and one is in Brahmana form. Brahmana here is in sense that it's a prose, right? So there are Mantra Upanishads and there are Brahmana Upanishads. Now, which do you remember as a Mantra Upanishad?
Mundaka.
Mundaka. Now, this is a Brahmana Upanishad. It consists of several sections. Each section by now we know is called Anuvaka. And in this Brahmananda Valli also, we have several Nuvakas. Now, the question is, why should we study this particular Valli? So, Shankara says, Brahma Vidyaya Avidya Nivrittihi. That is the benefit. Prayojanam asya brahma vidyaya avidya nivrittihi. What is the prayojanam, the benefit? The avidya nivrittihi, the removal of avidya. How? Brahma vidyaya, by the acquisition of vidya. So, the study of this particular Brahmananda Valli, this adhyaya, this chapter, it will give you jnanam, right? What will jnanam do? It will remove ajnanam. When ajnanam goes away, what will happen?
When Jnanam goes away, Atmanyanam automatically shines forth. Swata Prakasha.
No, because I'm saying that first you will get jnanam. That jnanam will remove ajnanam. When ajnanam goes away, what is the product of mula vidya? Samsara. So samsara will go away. Now, so he says, by that removal of avidya, atyantika samsara abhavaha. So the word is atyantika. Okay. Samsara abhava means samsara will be removed. Why does he say atyantika samsara abhavaha? Permanent removal of samsara. What is the necessity for Shankara to add that adjective?
So that
Because
we don't
there's
misunderstand
apekshika
it with temporary, that apekshika.
So, is there something called apekshika samsara nivritti?
like in sleep,
Yeah, in Sushupti and
Sushupti Avastha.
at the
And
time of the dropping of physical body and at
Death
the time
also.
of pralayam as well.
yeah. So there are three opportunities for temporary freedom of samsara. So apekshika samsara nivritti means temporary removal of samsara. It occurs during sushupti. It occurs when your physical body dies. It occurs during pralaya. And none of these are being referred to here. He wants to say that samsara is not going to come back. Because in all these three cases, sushupti it comes back, maranam it comes back in the next life, pralayam it comes back in the next srishti. Therefore, atyantika samsara abhava means it will never come back. Okay. Now, this anuvaka, this particular anuvaka, it's if you look at the Gita Press book, it's called Upanishad Sara Sangraha. It is the essence, the entire condensation of all the Upanishads. Upanishad Sara Sangraha. Okay. Now, this Anuvaka we can think of as having divided into three portions. So, one is a Sutra Vakyam, right? Sutra Vakyam is the essence. It's a sutra into which the entire teaching is condensed. Then, traditionally, first you present the condensed teaching in the sutra, and then you elaborate the teaching slightly, brief notes on the teaching. That is called a vritti. So we have to be careful about the word vritti because what does the word vritti mean?
A modification,
Thought.
a thought.
Coming close. Getting it.
Anybody else?
Inclination. Increase.
No, vritti actually means function. If you look at the Sanskrit dictionary, you will find vritti means function. Now, vritti, when you use in connection with the mind, what is the function of the mind?
Thoughts.
Thoughts. And that is why the common meaning of vritti is thought. Right? The actual meaning of vritti, literal meaning is function. So when you say manovritti, you are saying function of the mind, which is actually thought. Right? Okay. But here, it has a different meaning. In Shastram, you have the Sutra Vakyam, you have the vritti, which is a brief commentary on Sutra Vakyam. And it is followed by a very elaborate commentary called the Vyakyanam. Okay, so three portions will always be there if you study Shastra properly. One is the brief presentation, which is by way of sutra in this case. One is a outline, you can call it. A little explanation on the Sutra Vakyam, which is called Vritti. And then comes the elaborate commentary called the Vyakyan. So here, the first part of the mantra is Sutra Vakyam. Brahmavid apnoti param. Okay, this is the Sutra Vakyam. Brahmavid, the knower of Brahman, apnoti, acquires, gets. Param is for the highest Purushartha, which is called Purnatvam or Moksha. So Brahmavid apnoti param means the knower of Brahman gets moksha. Which means that only the one who knows Brahman, the Brahmagyani alone gets moksha. All others will not get moksha. All others are samsaris. So very, very important mantra from which comes the often quoted mantra Jnanat eva kaivalya. That comes from here. Brahmavid apnoti param. Only the Brahmagyani gets moksha. Therefore, Jnanat eva kaivalyam. Only from Jnanam can you get moksha. Kaivalyam is moksha. And therefore, no amount of karma kanda, practice or rituals, however much you may be devoted to, will give you moksha. Brahma here means what? Nirgunam Brahma. Right. The word Brahma has got its root in Brahattamaha, the biggest one. Brahat means big. The suffix tamaha means biggest. So Brahattamaha means the biggest one. So Brahattamatvat Brahma, that derivation. What is the biggest is Brahman. What is the biggest? Brahattamaha means the biggest among the bigs. That is Brahman. And Brahmavid is the one who knows that Brahman. So Vijanati, Brahma Vijanati iti Brahmavid. The one who knows Brahman is Brahmavid. And Apnoti, the normal meaning is attains or becomes. And Shankara explains, Apnoti means he's got a long explanation. Okay, he says that Brahma Swarupam of yours, which was seemingly lost, which was figuratively lost because of Ajnana. You now see that Brahma Swarupam as your own self. So Sarvatma Brahmanaha Atmatva Darshanena. Seeing that Sarvatma Brahma, that Brahman which is in all Atmas, all beings or everywhere, seeing that as your own self. That is the meaning of Apnoti. But he adds Shruti Upadishtasya with the help of Shruti as the teacher. So Apnoti has the meaning of understanding that you are that Brahman, that knowledge which was figuratively or seemingly lost due to Ajnanam, regaining that knowledge with the help of the teacher and the Shruti. That is called Apnoti. A very long but very concise definition of Apnoti. And the word Param. So every word is being described. Brahma with Apnoti. Next one is Param. Param is Nir-atishayam. Nir-atishayam means that which cannot be surpassed. Unsurpassed, infinitely big. That is called Brahma Param. Tveva Brahma Param. Right? And Shankara says here, you should very carefully understand that Brahma Prapti, Brahma Praptim eva Brahma Vedaha Darshayati. That Brahma Prapti, the meaning of Brahma Prapti, which you can take as Apnoti, Brahma Apnoti, is only through Brahmajnana. And he quotes a Mundaka mantra here. Sayohi vai tatparam Brahma Veda Brahma Bhavati. Remember? Sayohi vai tatparam Brahma Veda Brahmaiva Bhavati. The one who understands himself as Brahma, he alone becomes Brahma. So that very elaborate explanation on Brahmavid apnoti param. Okay, then for the discerning student, we of course will never have these questions, right? But Shankara knows that we, are not used to thinking too much. So he says, I will tell you. Out of these explanation, 3 questions should arise. And since we ourselves won't have those questions, we'll take Shankara's view. Kim tat Brahma. What does he say? Brahma with apnoti param. The knower of Brahman will become Brahma, will acquire moksha. That is the Sutra Vakyam. What question should come out? Kim tad Brahma? What is that Brahman? What should be a second question?
How?
How
do I know
to
it?
Katham tasya jnanam. How can I know that Brahman? What is the methodology? What should be a third question?
Why?
What is meant by moksha?
Moksha.
Moksha is included here, right? Brahma with apnoti param means you get moksha only through Brahma jnanam. So 3 questions are there. What is Brahman? How will I know that Brahman? And what do you mean by saying that when I know Brahman, I will get moksha? What is the meaning of that word moksha? 3 questions. And these questions are answered in the vritti portion. The vritti portion is Tadesha Bhyukta Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman So Ashnute Sarvan Kaman Saha Brahmanaha Vipascheti Ti. This is the vritti portion, which addresses these 3 questions. So first question is Kim Tad Brahman? What exactly is that Brahman? And so he says, so the Shruti says, Tat Esha Abhyukta. In this means Tad, in that context, in that regard, Eshaha, you have to add mantraha. Eshaha mantraha abhyuktaha. The following mantraha from Rig Veda is being quoted. What is that? Satyam jnanam anantam brahma yo veda nihitam guhayam parame vyoman so ashnute sarvan kaman saha brahmana vipashyateti. This is the Rig mantra which is being quoted. Now, if you look at the last word, brahmanaha vipashyateti, there is the split. The sandhi breakup is vipaschete iti. Right. So the iti indicates the end of the Rig mantra. In case you're wondering how I decided that only this much is the Rig mantra, the iti at the end of it, that is deciding for us. Iti is the quotation ending, the inverted comma in Sanskrit for quotation ending. Okay. So let's examine that. Tad esha abhyuktaha, the following Rig mantra is quoted. Satyam jnanam anantam brahma. This is the definition of Brahma according to the Upanishad. Now, here itself we'll have a lot of, this is Jnanakanda, right? So you'll not have just simple meanings. So this is a very important definition. And when we say Lakshanam, Lakshana Vakyam, a sentence indicating the Lakshanam, we have 2 types of Lakshanam. What are they?
Tatastha and Sarupa Lakshana.
Tatastha and
Swarupa Lakshana.
Swarupa
Swarupa
Lakshana.
Lakshanam. What is Tatastha Lakshanam? It's a statement giving a, a word or a method of defining something which is not the permanent definition. Tatastha. Why is that so? Because Tatha means the banks of a river. And the river, the water is always flowing. The Tatha never remains the same. Bank never remains the same. Therefore, Tatastha means you can define, but it is not permanent definition. What is the normal or any example you use?
Sir, you had once mentioned about the house with the blue car in front,
Yeah.
which is
Correct. So that's the now supposing, for example, you're looking for your car or looking for a friend's car, right? The friend is far away and he's given you the key and he says, my car is, a red Maruti, it is standing in front. You go there and you find 5 red Marutis. Okay. Then you call your friend and say, hey, there are 5 Marutis. So he says, yeah, but you look at the Maruti which got the, what they call, a little paint scratch on the side. So you go and you find the Maruti. Now, is the paint scratch permanent? Will it be all the time? No, because you can always have it repeated up. Right. So this definition using a set of words which clearly defines the object by excluding other objects. Right. So you have said it's a Maruti with a red scratch in front. You excluded it from the other red Marutis. Right. But it is not permanent because tomorrow morning I can have it repeated up. And then that particular definition will not apply. So here it is not Tatastha Lakshana. It is Swarupa Lakshana. Why? Because Satyam Jnanam Ananta Brahma is always there whenever you talk about Brahman. And because it is so important, Shankara gives a very, very, very elaborate commentary. So we will look at that commentary, not as a commentary, but I'll pick out extracts so that we understand. Now, we have to listen very carefully. Okay, this is all Jnana Kanda, so all argumentative, all reasonings. How do you look at the word Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. Right? How do we say that the word means that Brahma is being defined by Satyam Jnanam Anantam? Is it not possible that Satyam is being defined by Jnanam Anantam Brahma? Is that a valid question?
but we are talking about Brahman, the context.
That is different.
Yeah.
We are saying, how do we know that it is not Satyam which is being defined, it is Brahma which is defined? Okay, let me give an example.
Acharyaji, even if we try and define Satyam, it will be synonymous.
No, it's important to understand how it works. For example, let me
Yes.
say that you are talking to somebody and you say, I have a teacher. So there are 2 sentences. One is the Vedanta teacher is Raviji. The other is Raviji is the Vedanta teacher. What is the difference? It's common to say there's no difference.
In the first sentence, it is who is the teacher, and in second, who is Raviji.
Excellent. So you have to ask a question. Do I want to know who is Raviji, or do I want to know who is the teacher? The answer to that question decides which of these 2 sentences you present as an answer. Is it not?
Yes.
So if somebody asks, who is Raviji? You say the teacher is Raviji. What is the subject and what is the predicate predicate.
So if we say
Grammar.
Raviji is the teacher, then Raviji is the subject
And
the teacher is the predicate.
the
And
teacher is the predicate.
And
Right,
if we
Eva.
say the teacher is Raviji, then teacher is the subject, Raviji is the predicate.
Exactly. So vice versa. And therefore, this is the method to decide which is the subject and which is the predicate, right? What is the question here?
Kim tad Brahma.
Kim tat Brahma. Therefore, the word, the noun Brahman is being presented, is being explained by presenting three adjectives. And therefore, if you want this to be crystal clear, you have to now break it up. You have to break up this particular Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma into three different sentences. Satyam Brahma, Jnanam Brahma, Anantam Brahma. Iti. This is the definition. What does Satyam Brahma indicate? Satyam Brahma indicates
Existence across all time frames.
yes, nirvikaraha, an entity which does not deviate from its essential nature at any point of time, which means that it is not subject to any change at all, which means that you are, Shruti is presenting Brahma as Satyam, saying that everything else is Mithya, right? Saying that there are two entities in this world. One is Satyam and one is Mithya. Whatever you experience is a product. And therefore, Brahman is different from all the Mithya products. By this one definition of Satyam, saying that Brahma Satyam, you have negated the entire Jagat as Mithya. Okay, fair enough.
Ji.
Okay, the second sentence is Jnanam Brahma. Now we know that we often refer to Brahman as Upadana Karanam for the Jagat.
Thank you.
Now, when you say that Brahman is Upadana Karanam for Jagat, the problem is that Jagat is Jadam. Right? There are two problems. One is that Jagat is Jadam. And the second is that every Upadana Karanam undergoes modification. It is a Parinami Upadana Karanam. Right? So, a Parinam, a change, can be either total or it can be partial. Can you give an example of something changing into something else, which is totally
Milk to
parinami?
curds.
Milk into curds is
Milk into curd
Milk to
is
curds is
total
Parinami.
parinam.
total parinamic karanam. And partial parinami,
Gold into bangle, necklace.
what is the parinam there?
The bangle can go back into gold.
No, there is a parinam. It's a partial change. The gold lump,
Yeah.
the form of the gold lump has changed into the form of the necklace. That's a partial change. Right? So you are saying that Brahman is Upadana Karanam. The problem is if Brahman is Upadana Karanam, if you think of this definition, then Brahman becomes subject to Vikara, Savikaram, becomes subject to change. And whatever is subject to change is subject to Shadvikara, care of Tattvabodha. And therefore, you have to present Brahman in such a way that you have to continue with the explanation that yes, Brahman is Upadana Karanam. But you have to explain that this is a special type of Upadana Karanam which does not undergo any change at all, neither total nor partial. And to convey that meaning, Shruti adds the word jnanam. Okay. Now, the word jnanam is derived from the word jna, Sanskrit dhatu jna. Jna means to know, right? And you will have to bear with me because I have to explain why it is important. So you add in Sanskrit, you take roots and you add prefixes or suffixes to get different words with different meanings. So this nya you take and you add the suffix pratyaya anam, okay, which gives you jnanam. So what's the issue? The issue is that the suffix anam can give rise to different meanings because there is a way of extracting the meaning. A derivation of the word in Sanskrit is called vyutpatti. You have to pay close attention and you have to go back to the class later. Okay. All these problems were not there in Karma Kanda, but since you are in Jnana Kanda now, you will have these issues. So, one way of deriving the word, the etymology basically, one way of deriving is called Prathama Vyutpatti, the first way of deriving. And here it's called Kartru Vyutpatti. You may, those who are familiar with Sanskrit may have heard this name, Kartru Vyutpatti. What does Kartru mean?
Doer.
Doer,
doer.
knower, whatever. Right? So the first derivation is Kartru Vyutpatti. It is taking the meaning as the knower or the doer. Okay, that is Prathama Vyutpatti. Then there is a second way called Dvitiya Vyutpatti. So if you are familiar with the Vibhaktis, you will know that the Prathama Vibhakti is the doer and the second Vibhakti is the karma. So karta, karma. This is called karma vyutpatti. The first is if you take it as a doer, then the second one is that which is the subject of the action. If you take it as a knower, that which is the known. That is called karma vyutpatti. And the third one is the instrument, right? Instrument with which the action of knowing is performed. So in this case, it can be either the indriyas, if you're looking at something, it can be the shrotra, ears if you're hearing something, or if you're analyzing something, it can be the mind, the intellect also. So this is the third way of derivation called Tritiya Vyutpatti. And since the instrument is involved, it is called Karana Vyutpatti. So Kartri Vyutpatti, Karma Vyutpatti, Karana Vyutpatti, right? These are all related to what? The Vibhaktis, the Karakas. And these three put together are also called Karaka Vyutpatti. Karaka Vyutpatti has these three, subdivisions or classifications. Now, when you have these three, let us say we take the process of knowing. So there is the I which wants to, which is the knower in this case. There is the rose, which is the known, right? The knower is there, the rose is there, the known, and the karanam is the I. So the pramata, the knower, the prameyam, the rose, and the chakshu indriya, the karanam. These three are the three vyutpattis: karma vyutpatti, karana vyutpatti, and kartra vyutpatti. All these they have to come together, right? For the finally the rose to be cognized, there is a process. So not only is the knower and the known and the instrument of knowing, there is also a process of knowing. This process is not a karaka, right? It is a product. It is the net result of the three karakas. Who are the three karakas? The knower, the known, and the I. When these three karakas come together, then the knowledge process takes place. And since these are not related to the karakas or the vibhaktis, but is a product of the activity of the three karakas, this has got a different name. It's called a bhava vyutpatti. Bhava means process. Okay. So in English, for example, let's make it English, okay, it'll be easier. You say, for example, that Rama is walking. Walking, let us say walking in the garden. Rama is walking in the garden. Now, here, if you look at the verb walking, the ing, the suffix ing, walking, is the bhava vyutpatti. That walk is converted into a process of walking. Right? Now, in the case of jnanam, any knowledge, what is the process of knowing? The rise of the thought in the mind is the knowing process. Like the pramata, he uses the eye to see the rose. And as a result of the combination of these three actions, karakas, there is a vritti parinamaha, a thought rising in the mind. So this vritti jnanam, we called it earlier. Vritti jnanam is called the bhava vyutpattihi of jnanam. The fourth derivation of the word jnanam is vritti parinamaha, vritti jnanam. Am I making sense?
Acharya ji, you had earlier told in the process of knowing there are two kind of simultaneous aspects of it. One is vritti vyapti, the other is phala vyapti. So
Yeah.
this vritti vyapti is what you are saying is the bhava.
No. This is a different way of explaining. There we said that the thought flows out of the eye, right? The vritti flows out of the eye, and the vritti envelops the rose.
The object.
That's vritti
Yes.
vyapti. Simultaneously, the consciousness in the vritti also envelops the rose. That is phala vyapti.
Yes.
Okay, this is a different way of explaining. So we are saying that the pramata, the seer, the one who sees, is there. He is looking at the rose using his eyes. And when his eyes come in contact with the rose, you can think of the same process that the vritti has flown out of the eyes and wrapped and covered the rose, and then the consciousness has taken also covered the rose. Phala vyapti, when it happens, what happens? There is a rise of a thought in the mind which says, this is a rose. That is called the bhava vyutpatti, the bhava derivation of the word jnana, vritti jnana.
So this bhava is that awareness?
No, it's a technical grammatical term. Bhava
Ji,
vyutpatti. Bhava means the process of knowing over here.
ji. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Now the question is, why are we going and breaking our head with all these things? When we say, when we are discussing all this, which is it that we are referring to? Are we referring to which which? Are we referring to kartru vyutpatti, karma vyutpatti, karana, or are we referring to bhava vyutpatti? This is what is being talked about. We have to figure out when this Shruti talks about knowing process, jnanam, Right? We're talking about the word jnana over here. When Shruti says jnanam Brahma, which is the derivation of jnanam that we have to talk about? Which one are we going to talk about? And there is an elaborate analysis which we will look at in the next class because we don't have time. So as you can see, we are jumped straight into Jnana Kanda, where the progress will be much, much, much slower than before. So with this, we'll stop here. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate
Purnasya
Purnasya Purnamada
Purnamadaya
Purnameva Vashishyate
Vavashishyate.
Om
Om
Shanti
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 Shanti.
Om
Om Tat Sat Om Namah
Shanti
Shivaya. Thank you for your
Shanti.
patience.
Thank you, Raviji.
Om